This week, the Delta has produced some really exciting fishing. The weather the last couple days, let's just say that Mother Nature has played all of her hands. So this week may be a bit of a reset, but the bottom line is the largemouth bass are marching into the shallows, and that means that the spring spawn will be here before we know it. So with that, let's take a look at a few of the pictures that came in last week, then we'll get right into the report. Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. You're watching In Deep on the Delta. This is the weekly fishing report for February 19th. Let's get through a little news here, then we'll get right into the report. First off, we got Real Custom Boat Works having their Coast Guard vessel inspection. That's coming up Sunday, March 29th. That's going to be right here at Paradise Point. They're also having a swap meet. It's a free swap meet, so you can come out, get your boat inspected, bring your own table. Everybody's going to be setting up in the parking lot just behind Paradise Point launch ramp, and it'll be a good day to come out, have your boat inspected, maybe get rid of some stuff that you may want to get rid of, and maybe even find something good that you can pick up from someone else. So that's the Real Custom Boat Works Coast Guard vessel inspection, Sunday, March 29th. We're also going to have a new tackle shop opening up here at Paradise Point, the grand opening of the NorCal Bass Hideout. It's a new tackle shop right at Paradise Point. That's going to be 2/28, 4 p.m. That's after the NorCal Bass Tournament that day. For information, you can call Dave out at 209-443-0814, and that's the new tackle shop opening up here right outside of Paradise Point. And for all that information, give Dave a call. He'll let you know what's going on. Last but not least, we have the Bass Hole Tackle Swap March 1st. That's going to be out at Bethel Island, right out in the parking lot at the Bass Hole, 9 to 1. Call Rob if you have any questions about that. So with that, let's get into some reporting here, and we're going to start with Clear Lake. I talked to Dave out at Clear Lake Outdoors, and actually I got to congratulate Dave and his partner for winning the Anglers Press Pro Team Tournament last week. And I think they had, 34.6 pounds to win that tournament. So here's the story from Dave. Tournament was a success. They only had about 16 boats out there. First place was 34, second place was 30, third place was 28.9. 16 boats. Mid-pack was about 18.9. I think they had, 4 fish, 3 fish over 8 pounds. They had several fish over 7 pounds. A lot of big fish. The big fish of the tournament was 8.7 pounds. Weather played a role in it. You know, I guess it's been pretty darn cold up there. Dave said that, I think I talked to Dave on Tuesday, he said that their expected high was in the low 40s. That's the high for the day. There's snow on the mountains up there. It has been brutally cold, so if you go up there to fish, make sure you grab yourself your foul weather gear. But anyhow, the Anglers Press Pro Teams Tour, everybody seemed to catch fish. Like I said, Dave and his partner won that tournament, and Dave goes about fishing a little different than what I've seen other people doing lately. He uses forward-facing sonar, but he says once he finds the fish, he's not really fishing to individual fish. They just kind of were fan casting around. They were using obviously minnow imitations or shad imitations, underspins, A-rigs, jerkbaits. All of that stuff will work, but you don't necessarily need forward-facing sonar to catch fish out there. That was Dave's winning tactics. With that being said, if you go up there this week, obviously the weather has played a part in it. I would suggest calling Clear Lake Outdoors and getting up-to-date information before you go up there. The crappie fishing is still on fire up there, and it will be. Dave is saying, and I asked him, I said, well, what's it going to take for everything to settle out and the fish to really come on and be more consistent? And he says, generally they look at March 1st, right around there, where things start to consistently get better. And he said, even if the weather's not as consistent as we would like it, right about March, those fish are going to be spawning in there. So those of you who have been thinking about going up there for a weekend trip, you might want to let these weather fronts run through and start giving them a call right around March 1st to go up there and get into some real great fishing up there at Clear Lake. And I also want to say, I want to give a big shout out to Marlon Carpenter from Crappie Closet Tournaments. A week or so ago, they had their Clear Lake Crappie Tournament. First place 5-fish crappie limit was 14.6 pounds. And I need to congratulate Aaron Dixon and Kevin. I'm going to just say Aaron and Kevin because I don't want to mess up Kevin's last name. But $1,000 first place, and that was 14.6. They had 12 boats out there, and this crappie tournament is starting to really get some traction. I know Marlon's been working hard. Everybody that fished that tournament seemed to have a great time. Good catches out there. It's a competition, but it's a friendly competition. I also want to give a big shout out to my buddy Randy Graham, who took third place. And for those of you who don't know Randy has a YouTube channel, The Real Randy Graham Fishing. Randy is a bank angler here out on the California Delta, and if you go to his channel, he'll show you all kind of tips and information about fishing the bank here on the Delta. If you have any questions, you can give Randy a call through his website or through his YouTube channel. He's really good about talking to folks and trying to get you out here. Even if you don't have the boat fishing on the bank, you can catch fish. So congratulations to Randy. Congratulations to Marlon for getting this thing going. And for those of you who are thinking about fishing crappie or maybe getting into a crappie tournament, he's going to have a whole series of tournaments coming up. I've got his flyer up there so you can get the dates on that. With that, that's the Clear Lake report. With that, let's switch over to Don Pedro. I talked to Aaron Jones from Central Valley Bait and Tackle. And Aaron's reporting that this last week has been good, but a little bit inconsistent. The fish are moving shallow. On the days that the sun came out, people were fishing shallow from the bank out to about 15 feet. They were using jigs, but general fishing, the best depths you're going to be looking at is from about 15 to 40 feet. They're still chasing shad, so underspins, jerk baits, anything that looks like a shad or anything that's bouncing along the bottom, plastics have been working. Again, it's going to be a little bit of a reset, but things are looking up out there. So if you get a chance to get up there, you want to call Aaron, give Aaron a call. That's at Central Valley Bait and Tackle in Modesto, and he'll give you up-to-date information on what's going on up at Don Pedro. With that, let's talk about the California Delta. And boy, I'll tell you, last week the largemouth bass were really perking up. But let's start with some river conditions. We'll talk a little bit about stripers, then we'll get into the largemouth bass. All in all, with the weather the way it's been the last couple weeks, it hasn't done us any favors out here. I'm out at Paradise Point today. It's Wednesday morning, and I had been getting, I'll say, 4 feet of visibility here at Paradise Point. This morning, after the rains, I'm looking at maybe a foot of visibility and really some chocolate colored water. It's pretty stained. I was hoping that it wouldn't, this rain wouldn't affect it that much, but it has affected the area right here. As most of you guys know, I live on Bear Creek. I looked at Bear Creek this morning and it is just dumping into the Delta. And I think because of the rain in the last couple of days, it usually takes 24, 36, 48 hours for all these rivers to start flushing into the Delta, and that's going to change conditions out here. And you also have to remember, when it rains like it has in the last couple of days, the islands are pumping off the island. So all of these pumps that are pumping water off the islands into the Delta are generally pumping some pretty dirty water into the Delta. Now, with that being said, is it going to affect the fishing? We can catch fish out here with a foot of visibility. It's no problem. But the problem is a conglomeration of things that have happened. The barometer jumping around, Water temperatures have dropped, I'm going to say 2 to 3 degrees. We had about 56-degree water last week. I know the reports that I've gotten from several of the guys that have been out in the last couple of days are talking about 54-degree water. So the water temperatures have dropped a little bit. Barometers moving around. Water, not so much, the clarity has changed, but the color of the water has changed. So with that being said, there's a lot of factors that are going in that's probably going to make this week a little bit of a reset. One thing that I like in the favor of all this weather and all the water dropping into the Delta, we're going to have really high tides, and the fish that I've been catching have been very close to structure. So as we continue to get these high water and these high tides, I think these fish are going to still stay very shallow. So that could be a benefit. We'll just have to see what's going on in the next few days. So with that, what's going on? We'll start off with the stripers. Number one, there's not a lot of interest out here, but everybody that's going out seems to be catching fish, and it doesn't matter where you are. Central Delta, if you're out north, you're down south, out west, wherever you're going, people seem to be catching fish. It's not on fire. The bigger fish have been reported, out on the Sacramento side, out around Liberty. There's been some big fish caught out there. Around the Central Delta, most of the fish are in that. There are some small schools of fish running around that are undersized, but there's a lot of schoolie fish in that 18 to 22-inch size range. Most people are drifting live bait, but I have been out and watched a few of the trollers out here, and there are quite a few guys, not quite a few, but out of the numbers of people that are out here, there's probably a 50% of the guys that are drifting live bait or trolling. The trollers are catching fish also. I was out the other day and a guy was trolling basically right behind me and kept going up and down the bank. That was out by the duck pond, and he had picked up a couple fish just while he was fishing around me. So with that, it's not enough people out here. I'm not getting enough reports to give you anything hardcore patterns that's happening on the stripers. But if you want to come out between the storms, and come out, and you got a good chance of picking up a few fish. It's not going to be on fire, but it's happening. All right, what's going on with the California Delta largemouth? Let's talk a little bit about a couple of the tournaments that we've had in the past week. There was a a Valentine's Day tournament. NorCal Bass Club, Dave threw together a little tournament. I think they had about 30 boats, and I believe, I don't have the information right in front of me right now, it could have had a 17-pound bag that won. It was either 15 or 17 pounds, but I think it took about 13 pounds to cash a check out of the 30 boats, and this was couples type tournament, so friendly competition. Everybody seemed to catch fish, and a lot of bags in that, I'll say 10 to 12 pound class came in. No huge bags came in over that 20-pound mark, but everybody was catching fish. So that's a good sign, especially for a tournament that everybody's not going out and really trying to be a world beater out there. It was a fun tournament for couples, and it went well. Now the Thursday tournament last week had two bags, and they usually, I don't know how many boats they had, I don't have it written down in front of me. They usually have about 10 boats. They had two bags over 20 pounds. 21.9 pounds won the tournament. Second place was 20.32. My buddy Cam and Aaron, they had second place. And I talked to Cam a little bit about what was going on. He was disappointed in the fishing, and I'm saying, Cam, you had 20 pounds, you got second place. I guess Cam needs to win one of these things before he feels good about it. But Cam and Aaron are good fishermen. They had 20 pounds. I said, how can you be disappointed in that? And he said, we never found a pattern. All 5 of their fish were caught with a different bait. Couldn't replicate anything, couldn't get on a pattern. They did catch 5 of the right fish, and if you can continue to do that, I think you're going to do just fine, Cam. But no pattern, didn't get a lot of bites, and the fishing was fairly tough. So, with that, there has been a lot of, not a lot, but an increase of fishermen out here. I've been seeing a dozen bass boats in the parking lot here on the California Delta, or excuse me, here at Paradise Point. And I have found that the fishing has been very good, but it's been sporadic. It's delta fishing. It can be frustrating. I think I had a couple days last week, and I was out 4 days last week. I quit fishing when the weather got nasty, but up until then I was going out every day, and I was picking up anywhere from about 12 to 15 fish a day. But a couple of those days I went for 2, 3, maybe even close to 4 hours without a bite before the fish started picking up. So it's been very tide specific for me. The number one tide for me has been the high switch for the high outgo. I did have a couple days where I got out early where we had the low tide, and low tide bite was good. The low incoming switch produced some action, but for me the best fishing was at high tide and that high tide switch. The techniques that I have been using, it's easy to talk about because there's been one. It's been worms. Worms, worms, worms. I do have a chatterbait on my deck, and I've caught a couple of fish on a chatterbait, but we're talking about for every 10 fish that I catch, I'm getting 1 on a chatterbait and 9 on worms, and everything is within 6 inches of cover. I've been fishing Thule Islands, offshore Thule Islands. Haven't done a lot of rock wall fishing, but if I'm fishing a rock wall, it better have Thules on it. And you've got to be that far away from the Thules, and you have to be dead sticking worms. Dark colored worms, red and black, dark green with green pumpkin with red flake has been working. Robo worms, drop shot, unweighted worms have been my number one fish catcher. Most of my fish are quality fish. I'm getting a few undersized fish. I'm not getting any fish over about 3.5 pounds, but I'll say the average size that I've been catching is a high 2 to low 3s. Just a lot of fun fish, and I believe that these are big males that are just coming in looking for spawning territory, and the females are going to be around just behind them. Now, I talked to Rob from out at the Bass Hole, and Rob has been getting a lot of people coming in talking about catching big fish, 6 and 7 pound fish. Rob said one day he was out, sun came out, and he actually saw a half a dozen fish or so that from about 6, 7, or 8 pounds that were out sunning themselves, looking in the shallows. Now, Rob's fishing out around Frank's Track area. I'm fishing around Paradise Point. I don't think I've seen a fish actually cruising around. Everywhere where I have been, it's been blind fishing, just fishing the Thules, so on and so forth. But the bottom line is these fish are really starting to march into the shallows. They're getting more and more active. Most of my bites, and one of the things that I will talk about is they have been very, very light biters. The last couple days I was fishing, though, I had a couple bites each day that were not just the line bump. They just came up and took a worm like it was a chatterbait. They just came up and grabbed it and knocked it. So with that's kind of telling me that at least maybe a small percentage of these fish are starting to get really, really active. Keeping contact with your bait right now is so important because these fish are coming up, they're picking up the bait very lightly, and if you're not on them, they're either going to spit it, or unfortunately sometimes when you don't feel them bite, they swallow the bait, and then you have a problem of mortality or killing some of the fish that you catch because they've swallowed the bait and the hook's down in their gills somewhere. But with that, everything is perking up. This week is going to be a reset. I'm hoping that I will be out tomorrow as long as we don't get some kind of an oddball rainstorm and wind like we've had, and we have had plenty of rain and plenty of wind up to about 30 miles an hour out here. I can deal with the wind, but I don't like wind, rain, and all that comes with it. So with that, I want to thank you guys for watching, and it's very important for you guys that are out there fishing, whether you catch fish, whether you don't catch fish, send me a report so I have as much information as I can to give you guys on the Thursday report. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Good luck and be safe out here. Could be a lot of debris coming down the river with everything floating into it. So be safe out here on the river. See you guys next week.